Let's welcome everybody out today to episode 56 of Utah in the Weeds. My name's Chris Holifield.
And I'm Tim Pickett, a medical cannabis provider in Utah and somewhat of a medical cannabis expert, I guess, Chris.
I would consider you more than somewhat of a medical cannabis medical expert.
I think we're all just learning still. You know, it's like the tip of the iceberg with what I think is available as far as knowledge goes. But this is an exciting interview with Heal You. Literally, it took me. I've been in this, and I've used their products, and it took me till this interview for that to click.
To figure out how to pronounce the name.
Yeah, and that it was about healing you. It was, it's creative. I love it.
I love it too. Beverly Astin, the owner of Heal You, and then Life Elevated Processing, we talked about that. I mean, this is such a fun conversation. She had so much energy and such a passion for cannabis and kind of, trying new things in the industry and talking about, the CBD combinations for sleeping and
I also like that she comes from outside of the cannabis space. Like she doesn't have a background in the cannabis space. She has a background in people, right? And her business. Loves people. She really likes people. And so she has really embraced this medical aspect of the Utah program. And so I think she fits really, really well in here. She's a woman business owner in the cannabis industry, which is not very common. So it's exciting to get to talk to her and to watch these companies kind of, enter and grow in this space.
What's been going on with you, Tim? You got a new location opening up here in like a week or two, right?
Oh, yeah. So soft opening of Provo. So we're back in Utah County. We tried it. We had a little bit of, some logistical and legal stuff that we had to work out. But we are in the same building as Deseret Wellness. We're in the front corner of that building. Grand opening on May 11th. Come on down, Taco Truck Tuesday. Yeah. And new patients will get a voucher, of course, for free tacos. And, come down, hang out with us. We'll be there at least 12 to 6. The pharmacy is open 11 to 7, so we're just trying to coordinate, so that people can get a better experience right there in Utah County. Super excited about that location.
Dude, I'm excited too. Utah County. I mean, that is awesome. And then don't forget, you can go to utahmarijuana.org/podcast to listen to all the podcast episodes. They're all there right online. And then easy shareable. Share some of those episodes out like on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. And let's get the audience, built up here, because I'm sure there's a lot of people here in Utah and beyond that would benefit from listening to this podcast.
Absolutely.
Anyway, let's get into this conversation with Beverly. I enjoyed chatting with her, so I think you guys are going to enjoy listening to this one. Here we go. With you, I think a good place to start with most people we chat with is kind of share where their cannabis journey started. Like, when did that happen for you? When did cannabis get introduced to your life?
I'm from the South, so I'm the youngest of 7 children. So my brothers in the 70s, they were growing cannabis in my mom's backyard. And my mom was a gardener that made Martha Stewart look like an amateur. So I had a few older brothers that grew cannabis, and so it was just like there. I was never a cannabis user, so now it's really funny. My younger brothers think it's so funny that their baby sister is now in the cannabis business.
Right.
So
what did Mom think about cannabis growing in the backyard?
Like a lot of it, or a couple of plants?
I think they were just sneaking a couple of plants.
Okay.
I think they were just sneaking a couple plants in for their friends and their own use.
Yeah.
But that was, I just really didn't know much about cannabis at all, except me and my girlfriends in high school. We snuck a few of my brothers from underneath their mattress or something, just to give it a try. But that was my only really experience with cannabis. I had no experience with cannabis. And when the medical cannabis program, I heard that it was coming to Utah, it was about the same time that my daughter got diagnosed with epilepsy. And then another one of our friends got diagnosed with a glioblastoma. So I started researching all these cannabinoids. And I had used CBD a little bit. actually felt really good with some of the things that I had done just with CBD isolate, just nothing really even full spectrum, but noticed a little bit of a difference. And so once you, as a mother, you have a sick child, or you have a dear friend that, cannabis could help, boy, you really dig in and you research it. And at the same time, I thought, wow, this could be an amazing business opportunity as well. My daughter started using some of the CBG, CBN, different combinations for epilepsy, and we were working with a neurologist, and it just went from there. And so I saw a business opportunity as well, and I'm never one to turn one of those down. So I started applying for the licenses, did not get a pharmacy license.
But you applied for a pharmacy license too. Okay.
I did. I applied for a pharmacy license and a processing license. And we had we didn't make it to the next round because our traditional business is car dealerships. And so we had a lot of regulatory experience, but no cannabis experience. So we did not get granted any of the other licenses, but we did get a processing license. So hence our journey now. We are Life Elevated Processing. We've joined up with our partner, Darren Long, and it's been really exciting to get going. We're only about 6 months in with our Tier 1 processing.
So you had no prior cannabis, anything. You weren't growing in other states or anything.
Nope, none at all. So they had a processing facility down in Vineyard, Darren, my partner, that they were doing hemp, and then we've just kind of collaborated and started doing. We have some really wonderful people that have been in more the traditional black market side and know how to make really great product. Our formulator, Kevin, his wife has a glioblastoma as well, and he's been treating her with a lot of CBG. She's not responded really great to traditional methods of treating her glioblastoma, so she's been doing really well with a lot of the minor cannabinoids with THC as well.
It's kind of one of those cancers that there seems to be a lot of attention paid to the cannabinoid therapies.
Exactly.
Like and before we started recording, you know Blake Smith.
Yep.
Right. We both know. We all three of us know Blake Smith.
Amazing person.
Yeah, and he and I have been talking about this. Yep. Actually, this type of cancer and cannabinoids lately.
Yeah, there's a really wonderful company out of Carlsbad, California, that I think they're a London-based company that they're called Greenwich Labs, and they are producing the only FDA-approved cannabis drug for limited treatment options like glioblastoma and a few of the really really uncurable epilepsy, those really hard to treat things. So that's a really awesome company to look into as well. They're doing some amazing stuff with FDA approval of cannabis.
These cannabis therapies.
Yeah.
So, and what was the first product you guys made 6 months ago?
The first product that we came out with was our vape carts, because right now we feel like in the market in Utah, we are still in a market in Utah where people are being educated on all the minor cannabinoids. Right now, I think we're still seeing people chasing high THC levels.
Because that's all we know.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all
anybody knows.
That's all anyone knows right now. And as we're starting to make products now that have 1-to-1-to-1 ratios, like CBG, CBD, THC syringes that people can cook with and bake with and put under their tongue, I want to create more products where people really can use them in olive oil in their cooking for kids with epilepsy, kids with autism. So, but our first product was a vape cart, but a lot of our vape carts, and all of them, have a ton of minor cannabinoids. And just like you said, Tim, we just started one that's a 1-to-1 THC CBG combination for people that want to have relief from their pain and anxiety, but still be able to function at 100%.
Yeah, it's definitely it's got to be designed with that much CBG in it. It's got to be designed for the medical market.
That's right.
Somebody who wants a little bit of an uplifting kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then pain. There's some good research about CBG and pain.
Yeah.
So it is. And that particular vape cart's only available in Bountiful at the pharmacy at Wholesome.
And so what some of the pharmacies are wanting to do is have their own kind of strain, their signature. So we're letting Beehive choose one right now, the strain that they like, that's 1-to-1, and Dragonfly's choosing a strain so they can have their own kind of signature. Oh, this is our brand of that 1-to-1. But what is great about educating the Utah market on those minor cannabinoids is you can still function at 100%, but have some relief. You don't have to, I don't know about y'all, but I don't have all day I've got to function. Most people still have to function, but it will give you some relief, that CBG, even from the anxiety that pain causes. Cancer patients that have so much anxiety from their pain levels, or back pain, chronic pain, but it just takes that edge off their pain where they can still, go throughout their day and function at 100%. So we just don't want people to be chasing that high THC because those minor cannabinoids, even if they are looking for a high, even those minor cannabinoids can give them a better entourage effect of really feeling that sense of well-being, that sense of, oh, okay, I'm going to be all right.
Right. That is something that's just, I think, at the beginning stages. I think that there's just so much more to learn about that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting from a business and a medical perspective. And we've talked to quite a few people in the Utah market that are really into producing medicine.
Absolutely.
Right? Which
is cool.
That's pretty cool.
So you make vape carts in syringes, right? Is that
concentrate? That's the same
syringe. Yeah,
it's the same stuff that's in your vape carts, but a different delivery form.
It's a little bit different delivery form, and we call it FICO, which traditional RSO is created a little bit differently in those vacuum ovens. And if Rick Simpson was, around today, he'd really be happy with the new technology that's going on. We've gotten a little flack for not doing it the old school traditional Rick Simpson way, but it's our version, like our full spectrum. FICO is our version of Rick Simpson oil. It's just a cleaner version. It takes out some of those plant particles, that chlorophyll, where it gets into the body and your body uses it a little bit better. We clean off some of that stuff with our wipe film process that gets rid of some of that junk in the oil, that dirty stuff that your body's not going to use anyway. So, but some people still think that plant matter does some good, and there's two sides to every story to that.
Tell me about you have a 1-to-1 of THC, CBD, and CBG.
Yes.
And I've never seen that. How does that work pretty good for people?
It's amazing for people who are looking for relief from pain, anxiety, just inflammation in general. CBG is kind of the mother cannabinoid.
Yeah.
And it sometimes CBD takes a few weeks to really see some of the effects of CBD. CBG automatically goes in and starts fighting inflammation, which in the medical community, inflammation is kind of the root people are finding of so many different diseases, especially autoimmune.
Yeah.
Autoimmune diseases like RA, MS, so many are inflammation driven. And it gives people they can almost feel immediate relief with CBG. So we really want to hit some of those. And another one, CBN, that is really big right now for sleep. That's one that you're going to be seeing Heal You, our brand, do a lot of CBN. People need I'm just going to tell you, it's replaced my husband's Ambien.
Okay.
And he was a nut job on Ambien. He would online shop on Ambien.
We've talked about that.
We have all these
online shopping, walking in the neighborhood, all kinds of things. And it's one of the things that we talk about in clinic all the time because we're kind of becoming this hashtag deprescribe specialty clinic. And Ambien, gabapentin, opioids, benzos. You talk about cancer patients with pain and benzos. And the chronic pain causes so much depression.
Yeah.
And people are on both. And those medications just have bad long-term side effects.
Yes, they do.
So CBN is a great alternative
It's a beautiful alternative.
for those types of things. Do you have products out right now that have a lot of CBN, or are you working on those?
So right now, what's exciting about the state of Utah and what they're doing with the medical program is everything that the processors do is tested on 3 different times. When we get biomass from the growers, we have to test it. Once we turn it in to that next stage oil, it's tested again. And then when we make our products are tested before they go into the pharmacy. So what's nice about this, now we don't always like it because it takes a little longer to make product. It's a little more expensive to make product. But what the consumer can feel really good about in the state is you're getting a pure tested product with C of A's, just like you would if you were going to your pharmacy and you're going to know what's in that product. So you can go on, like even Zion's products, they're making the products. You can go on all of our websites and see our C of A's. When you go into the pharmacy, you can look on the back of our labels and you can see all those minor cannabinoids in there and how much is in there. So what's exciting is we're pulling these natural terpenes off, so cannabis-derived terpenes. We're doing all this natural medicine that have a big range of these minor cannabinoids, CBD or CBG, all of them, and you can kind of see how much of each one is in there. So yes, we're putting tons of these minors in. So yeah, we do have a lot of products with smaller levels of CBN right now, but we're going to be doing some with higher levels of CBN in them too for sleep.
That's awesome.
So it's exciting.
What's it like regulatory wise? So getting into this without having the cannabis experience, it's still, you knew you were getting into a heavily regulated industry.
Yeah.
And you did, I'm sure, hours and hours of research.
Yes.
Hired attorneys who did hours and hours of research, all of the above. But then you get into it. Were you undereducated?
Yes, very much so. We call it, to be nice, we'll just call it a crap show.
Yeah.
But it really was just the regulations. But in a way, I can't imagine anyone getting a vape cart made in someone's kitchen. That's just not okay. It's just not okay.
Yeah, that whole vape cart craze when everyone was getting sick or stuff like that from that, man, that was scary.
All the fillers and all the things that were being put in that were fatty, that were causing people to have all these lung problems and die from inhaling all these fatty agents like MCT oil, all these things that they were filling with. And so what's nice is when you vape something from the state of Utah, you know what you're vaping is the cleanest form of medicine that you could put into your lungs. Are there maybe cleaner forms to use? That answer, maybe yes for some people. Are you going to get immediate relief like you would from vaping? Not that fast. So, the tinctures are great for under the tongue. The edibles, they have to go through the liver. So you're 45 minutes before you get some real relief with an edible. So the vaping is such a great thing because you're going to get almost immediate relief. And I feel like it's such a clean product because it's been tested thoroughly in the state that, people who haven't even thought about vaping, I'd never considered vaping before ever. But Kevin, our formulator, has made me a vape pen for CBG, CBN, where I can sleep at night and I can have some inflammation relief, even without the THC. So now we're coming out with some products that if you don't want THC, great. Here's a CBN pen that you can help you sleep at night. Are you going to have a better effect with a little bit of THC? Yes. Do you have to do a lot of THC to activate those? Those cannabinoids are meant to work simultaneously together. They work better in conjunction together, so you're going to get a better overall effect, even just with a tiny bit of THC. So it's exciting medicine. It's really awesome.
Tell me about the name Heal You. I love that.
I know.
Because it's different spelling, it's different. Where did that come from? What's the motivation, inspiration behind that?
We wanted to kind of give someone to talk about when they said, "How do you pronounce that?"
Yeah, well, that's how I ran into.
Every time, right?
Yeah, people are like Jilu, Jilu. How do you pronounce it? And so we just took that J in there. And,
had a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, huh? Jalapeno, javelina, something, javelina, however you want to say it. But we thought the J may be kind of a fun, just play on, let's give people something to talk about on how do you pronounce your brand. And now it's kind of catching on. Everyone's okay. Oh, it's Heal You. Oh, I get it. So it's a little
you definitely have to say it a few times when you go into the pharmacies and you're like, that's a Heal You cart. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And it's great because, you've got to say it 3 or 4 times before you even pick up the product.
Exactly.
And so everybody knows about it. And you make great vape carts. They're very, very effective. Where, as a processor, you don't grow your own. So where are you getting the biomass?
Well, what's been really wonderful is I have to do a big shout out, and I did this. I wasn't a big social media person before, but now on our Instagram, I've kind of been in charge of our Instagram. So I respond to everybody's comments, and I've gotten to know the patients really well, what they like. Tell us, what strain you would like to see or what combinations you'd like to see. But I just did a big shout out to our Utah growers. And I have to just say, Randy Glebe at Trike, he has been wonderful in giving us biomass. Now Blake at Zion's, they're getting enough. They don't have enough flour for us yet. I'm begging them for it. So come on, you guys, if they hear this, give Heal You some flour. But they are giving us some really good trim to work with. Harvest has just started to give us a little bit as well. So the Utah growers, they're doing their best. So give those guys a little bit of a break. I know that people want more flour immediately. We're trying to, grow this program as fast as we can. But in the defense of the state of Utah, no one expected it to grow this fast.
Yeah.
No one expected it to have this sort of a response. So, and I feel like, Tim, like you, that people are looking for alternative medicine. They're looking for something different than a crappy opioid that makes them feel sick, that makes them feel constipated, that has all these side effects. The yucky feeling and side effects you get from Ambien and just all of these pharmaceutical drugs that have just been shoved down our throat. People are sick of that. They don't want it.
It's twofold too, in my opinion. It's the, you say shove down people's throats, which essentially is true, right? We sit there, we listen to patients, talk and complain about their ailment, and then we write a prescription here, take this twice a day or take this at night or whatever. And people don't really have a lot of choice.
They don't.
At least they don't feel like they do. And cannabis does those two things. It gives them the choice to experiment with their own health and to make choices on their own about their medicine and access to things that in the long run could be less harmful, right? In a lot of ways. And so it's a fun industry to be a part of, and it's fun to see the growth of the of the marketplace, right? Of the patient like growth. It's fun to hear people's stories.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
And what's exciting to me is educating the state of Utah. And I feel like as a woman, if we educate the women of Utah, we educate Utah. Women usually are the ones going to the doctor, calling for their husbands for their prescriptions, calling for their kids. And I feel like losing that stigma of just THC or cannabis for getting high. I want that to be gone. Yes, there are people who need it that are suffering miserably with anxiety and depression, that stony effect, they need that to relax and to unwind as well. But it's not just for everyone. Everyone doesn't like that stony feeling. And so if we can offer both, that's great. But I think if we can lose that stigma of cannabis just being around for people to get high, that's not the only purpose for cannabis. And so I feel like women's job in Utah will really be to let's back up 3 steps here and look about the history of cannabis. It's our oldest medicine on the planet, and it was demonized mid-century 50, 60 years ago, and now we have to retrain people on a different way to approach cannabis as a healing drug, instead of just a get stoned.
It's something to buy in the back alley.
That's right.
Just
right.
a sack of.
Yeah, and I think I think we're doing good though. I think Utah, I see a lot of people putting their feet forward to try to, debunk all of that garbage and say, no, this is something that saves people's lives, whatever you're using it for.
Now, is Life Elevated processing, are they processing carts for other people too?
We're just starting to do that. So funny that you should ask that. We just met with a really awesome group of women this morning, Acrely Farms, and they're 2 women that started their own farm up in Logan, and they are doing wonderful CBG products. And then, of course, some of the growers who do not have processing yet, we're really trying to do some work for them as well.
Right, like why process? Why not just do it here?
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing that, and a big shout out to the other processors. Boojum is an independent processor like us, and also Wasatch.
Yeah.
Steve at Wasatch. So they're doing a great job as well. Just really trying. I love Boojum's marketing. They're really good about trying to educate people in a way of medicine as well. So I feel like there's not a lot of processors yet in the Utah space, but what I've loved so far about meeting with everyone in Utah is it really, and I attribute the growers to trying to create an environment of let's all help each other. Yes, we are competitors. We are all going to have product in the pharmacies that compete against each other. But what we really want to do is join forces together because we want to educate the state and work together. We have so much more in common than we have to be divided. So I really have to commend Utah and some of the growers for really, Randy at Trike has really done that. I feel like just Chris at Wholesome, I was talking to him the other day, and people are really trying to work together in a way that doesn't feel like, oh, I can't be friends with you because you're my competition.
Yeah, there's just not enough patience in the state to even need to compete.
That's right.
Right? Like, I mean, I guess you could compete later when there's
a lot more out there.
Yeah, when there's 100,000, 150,000. Let's get the information out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now
Let's
we just need to get the medicine, we need to get the information.
Yeah,
Yes.
instead of worried about that, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and I think the growers are doing a pretty good job of that. And you would know that better than anybody because you're reaching out to all of them saying, hey, I need, like next month, I'm going to need some biomass because I'm going to run out of stuff to do.
Yeah, you can just ask the growers. I call them, and I've even cooking is my hobby. So I've even made lots of them biscuits and gravy, homemade. I bring them in lunch. What can I do for you? I mean, I owe the guys at Beehive across the street some breakfast burritos, but we just kind of I feel like right now, you're exactly right. Whatever we can do to help each other out in the state to really just get the program up and running and get it running well, where it has a really good reputation, and working on the Hill with legislation. That's something I just recently joined both Utah Cannabis Association and the co-op, because I feel like we want to work together and we want to keep this a state that is Utah medicine. We don't want it to become overrun and have it become all recreational before we even get people educated that, hey, you know what, this is real medicine for people who need it in the state. So I feel like people are really working really well together, and that's what that's a big shout out to everyone in the business so far. I feel like we're doing a good job of that.
Seems that way, from what I've seen at least.
But
Yeah,
I have had to beg, Blake and all the
For
Blake,
flour, please.
Can I get some? And they just laugh at me. Okay, Beverly. Okay, So I'm like,
So of anybody who complains about not enough flour and not enough growing going on, I mean, you probably have the best argument to make,
oh yeah,
right? Like,
oh yeah,
the individual that can't get enough flour
Yes.
is important, but you make a lot of products and need a lot of material to do that.
that's right.
And so there are growers that just haven't ramped up yet, right?
And they're trying. They're doing their best. And so we've gotten a little bit of backlash on social media and stuff that, nobody's making anything good yet, and there's not enough good this, and there's not. But just my answer to that is just be patient. It's going to just keep getting better. We are just now doing like a product that we're doing R&D on right now, just some good research and development on. We're buying some CBG, and we're doing fresh frozen right into our sub-zero 80-degree below zero freezers, so we can add some of that CBG, CBD in when we do get this flower from the growers to do some really nice like live rosins, some really great medicine for people that's just has nothing. It's solventless. It's beautiful that we can put right into a rosin press and get people just that whole product. I mean, and when you freeze it at that level, a lot of the trichomes and all of the cannabis-based terpenes, the smells, the flavors, everything are just true medicine from the plant. I mean, it doesn't get any more true. We do CO2 processing in our facility, and a lot of people are doing ethanol extraction and different methods, but really it'd just be beautiful to do a lot of that solventless where you have none of those involved in the plant process at all. You just get pure plant. So
See, and I'm not very familiar with any of that,
I know a live rosin is a fantastic product, though. It's a very pure product, and it's an experience on its own, right? Like people like certain types of strains, certain types of flowers.
Yeah.
When you get into the concentrates, a good live rosin
and it's great natural medicine without any of the solvents involved in the extraction process. Mm-hmm. So it really is just hot pressed into it's called a rosin press. And you just put those right in and just press out. It looks like
just oozes out.
Yes.
It is like the consistency of honey.
Yes.
Right? But then it hardens up to where you can roll it in your hand.
And people can use it in different methods. And that's what we want people to be able to, we want to offer them the method of choice that they like to treat. Some people just like to use it in different ways. And whatever way you like to use it, we want to offer that for you. But I want the Utah patients to be patient with us. It's going to get better. It's just going to keep getting better. And the growers are they're already growing better than when I came when we came on board 6 months ago. We're already getting better stuff from the growers. It's just getting better every time. So I just, urge people just to be patient with us all, because we're all getting a little bit of flack. But be patient. It's going to just keep getting better.
Tell me about your daughter with epilepsy. I'm not very familiar with epilepsy. What was she using before cannabis, before THC and all that?
She still is on working with her neurologist, and she still is on a seizure medication as well. But when she feels a seizure coming on, or when they call it when you start to get a seizure, when you feel it coming on, it's almost like a deja vu, and you go into a state before you get into that seizure. And if she can kind of catch it right before she goes into a seizure,
she can stop it.
She can stop it. And that's the beauty of cannabis. And I don't know if if you guys have seen like Charlotte's Web, what it's doing for people who have multiple seizures a day. It's bringing like hundreds of seizures, multiple and a lot with young children. Those multiple seizures, it's cutting them down to maybe just a few a week instead of maybe 100 a day. So CBD and all those minor cannabinoids are doing amazing things with just epilepsy. So I really would like to see end-of-life patients have a better option than morphine, where they can enjoy their families in their end of life. I want people to start to open their mind up to cannabis for that, instead of being drugged out on morphine, where you can't even really enjoy your family in end of life. So there's just so many different. My mother-in-law, who has MS, she was our R&D test guinea pig for rat, I guess you should say. She was our test patient for our rub, our balm that we just created. And we started out with the CBD and then started with 100 milligrams of THC. And she's like, don't really see a difference. Then we bumped it to 200 milligrams of THC. And she was like, oh, now maybe you're getting somewhere. Once we got to 400 milligrams of THC with about 1,000 milligrams of CBD, she's like, now you have something. And she rubs it on her body, her MS. She's in late stages of MS. So she's had it for about 30 years. And it's giving her so much relief that it's been life-changing. And that she won't vape it, she won't ingest it, but she will use a balm.
And relief without the high for people listening that have never used any of the rubs or the creams or the balms or anything like that.
Absolutely.
It's so awesome for that.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I'm always surprised at how well they work.
It's amazing.
I haven't seen. Can you get your balm at Beehive?
You can get our balm at Beehive. Now you can get our balm everywhere.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I'll have to get
and
some
it's
of
a
that
strong.
sometime. Yeah.
So that's a strong balm.
That's a
lot.
strong balm.
Yep, 400 milligrams of THC in one container.
In a
That's
2-ounce
gonna be-
container.
Yeah, that's going to be a
So
strong.
somebody with a little
balm.
more pain, somebody with a little more.
because you've got Zion, that cypress, sage that they have, I think, is 100 or 200. I think yours is probably the strongest.
It might be the strongest, but I know I've used Zion's and it works great. Theirs works
my
great
experience
too.
is yes. It's these topicals that drive. They work for migraines. We have people with migraines, especially hand and feet.
Yep.
Arthritis and arthritic pain, this inflammation and pain. But then I've been even surprised, and I didn't think this was going to be the case, with deeper tissues like back pain and this muscle pain. And for some reason, it shouldn't be penetrating that deep, but for some reason it just works. And it's penetrating really deep. I only have met a couple of people who they do get a little psychoactivity with high dose topicals.
They do.
Really?
They do.
Yeah, I've met. Yeah, I have a specific patient that I can think of that.
Like what happens?
Definitely, they just get a little high.
Yep,
Really?
they just feel a little bit.
Yep, they feel a little off.
And I can relate because that's me. I'm not a cannabis user on a regular basis. So I don't need it for much, but I have some joint conditions, so I use the healing balm. And I can attest to you that if you're not a THC user, like a vapor or a gummy user, that you will feel a little bit, not so much like, oh, I can't function, but you'll feel a little bit like, oh, okay, something's
good to know.
Just a little head change.
Yep, a little head change. You will
if
notice
you
that.
use enough. Now, I would say that's pretty rare still. I think most people that we take care of are not getting any psychoactivity from the balms. And we usually recommend that they can use it liberally.
Yeah.
I mean, these are things, other than the cost of the balm. Seems like the cost of the balms is a little high.
The cost is about $100 for an ounce to 2 ounces. And we were trying to get those costs down. That's been another big complaint in the Utah market, is getting the cost down. But as the growers really start growing, that cost is going to come down a little bit. Right now, we pay $700 to $1,000 per pound for biomass. So, that makes it expensive when you have to, that's before even you start making the product. So as that price starts coming down, things will become more affordable. But back to the balm, if you have joint pain and you have chronic back pain, headaches, migraines, the back of your neck where you feel that migraine coming on, people swear by the balm. They just, and if you're not a cannabis user, this is a great entry to cannabis. This is a great way to say, okay, I'm going to try cannabis without ingesting it. And then when you feel a little more comfortable with it, like I now will use a 5 milligram gummy to help me sleep at night with CBN. So a 5 milligram THC is a very small amount, but you know what? I wasn't a cannabis user. So to me, that was a great entry place to get some relief, put me to sleep, take away some pain, and start slow. And our syringes that we just came out with that have the 1-to-1-to-1, one part of each, they're a lower potency. We have a high for more pain, people who are heavier users that have higher pain levels. We have a high 80 to 90% potency in our high, we call it our lightly distilled cannabis oil. And then our full spectrum is a 70 to 80%. And then once you get the 1-to-1s, we have a 1-to-1 CBG THC, that brings it down a little more, and then the 1-to-1-to-1 brings it down to about 30% to 50% THC, depending on where our potencies are at the time in the lab. But so if you are chasing higher THC, we have those products. But if you're looking for an entry level, just a small amount, I know
First Timers Club.
That's right.
It really and we talked about it at the beginning, where we're talking about to grow the market here, and not just from a business standpoint, but to grow the acceptance of cannabis and the destigmatization, so to speak, of cannabis. We might have just hit the sweet spot with the topicals.
Yeah.
Because you could get the mom, right? You could get that person who's outwardly doesn't like the smell, is not going to vape anything, but has something that they're like, man, I want to try this in a legitimate way.
Yeah.
I don't need a grinder and flour and have all that, right?
Big bong.
Big bong. Like, that's just so intimidating to a lot of people.
And even to me, like, I had no idea what dabbing was, or
Oh yeah, all that stuff can get so confusing.
I had no idea about all of that. But you know what? That's how some people want to use it, and that's okay too.
But it's usually not the first introduction to cannabis, right?
It's not.
Unless it's a strictly recreational introduction.
Yeah.
And that's how you got introduced, was somebody with a dab rig at their party or whatever.
Yeah.
We have got to find ways to introduce cannabis to people that is completely non-intimidating.
That's right.
Like, we have to go what we think is too far. I think.
I agree.
And I'm somebody we're all neck deep in this cannabis, right? So
Yeah.
we talk about that we have all the lingo and we know all the terms. And so we can walk into a pharmacy and feel fairly comfortable with the people
Yeah.
and with the pictures on the wall and with the products in there. But I think for most of who we want to expose cannabis to in Utah,
You figure most people go in like maybe once a month. They buy like a couple of things,
Yes.
maybe if even that.
that,
and they're
their
in and out,
first
and they don't have a time to talk, so they're not learning anything.
Yeah.
right?
You know?
And those first timers,
They're really nervous.
they're so nervous,
I
and so
know.
we've got to figure out ways to do it. And God bless the people at the pharmacies, but they're all neck deep in cannabis all the time too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's normal for them to say, well, do you usually smoke? Do you usually use
Yeah, but they have to
joints,
watch what
Juan?
they say, though. They
They
have to be
do.
careful.
Yeah.
So they
They do.
can't really sit there and probably have all the conversations with patients because they have to.
That's true, too.
They can't really sit there.
What's nice is another thing I'll commend the state on is it's really nice for someone to come in and meet with a pharmacist first. And they can talk about. I've seen so many older people in the pharmacies as I'm delivering product to the pharmacies. I've seen so many, like I talked with a man the other day who has prostate cancer. And he's never used cannabis. He's probably 80 years old. And I had a 30-minute conversation with him about, just, hey, this would be a great starting place for you. And it was so nice to have conversations with people who really want to try it for relief and want to try it to feel better, but just don't really know where to start. And so I love that they're meeting with a pharmacist, they're getting familiar, because a few of these patients, they look like deer in the headlights when they're walking in. They're like,
They
what
totally do.
what in the hell did I just walk into? What am I doing? I don't know anything about cannabis. And I can say I'm pretty much the same. I didn't know a lot about it. And so the education and the research and the meeting with the pharmacists, it's a great place for people to be able to start and really ask questions and sit down and not be so scared of, oh, a tincture. What's a tincture? People don't even know what a tincture is. But we just came out with our 1-to-1-to-1 CBG, CBN, or CBD tincture with the THC. And that's a great place to start. It's just a wonderful place to start is a little one drop under your tongue, see how you feel. If one drop doesn't work, okay, tomorrow or this evening, I'm going to go to 2 drops and just play with it a little bit and see where your relief level comes in. And cannabis works on each of us so differently. That's another thing that we really haven't. I mean, it really affects every single person so differently.
And then depending on the day too, because sometimes one strain might work on a Monday, but then on a Friday it might not work as well.
Or
Right,
if
it
you
depends
eat,
on what you eat,
and
as
if you've
well,
eaten,
right?
if you have eaten or you haven't eaten, it's
I think your perspective is unique in the Utah industry because you come from a place that's not cannabis heavy. So, like, I think our discussion, we've talked a lot about these products with, you talk about a 1-to-1-to-1, that's a 30% THC product.
Yeah.
That is not what a lot of these, frankly, a lot of the growers and the processors came into this to do. They came
True.
in
To grow weed.
to grow weed, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's what makes money,
that's right.
right? In the short run, there's a play there to just load this market with high THC products, and there's going to be a lot of people who want that.
Yeah.
But coming into it from a non-cannabis user space, you're more open, it sounds like, to making products that aren't just knock your socks off, get you high.
Yeah.
However, you know that you're going to have a broad range.
Absolutely.
So you're really starting in a good place. Like already to see these vape carts with the 1-to-1 CBG to THC, I think is pretty impressive in Utah. I don't know that you could find a lot of that stuff out of state
yeah.
because that's a very medical product.
It is a medical product, and we want and those syringes I think look really medical, and to educate people that you can cook with them. You can put them in a brownie recipe. You can put them in an olive oil. You can mix that with honey butter for a piece of toast.
How much would you mix, like, for people listening?
Yeah,
Like,
so you've got
they
a
don't know where to
1
start.
milliliter syringe. No, 10 milliliters.
Yeah,
10
so
mLs.
1 gram.
1 gram.
So 1 gram. And for those, and we've made 5 different products in our syringe line. So for the higher users, for the lower users. And we want you to start, if you are not a user, with the 1 to 1 to 1. And start with a low and just start with a half of a milligram. And on the syringes, there's lines. So you can dose a half a milligram on there. And you can say, okay, I'm going to start there. I can add it to my coffee or my tea. I can add it to my honey butter. I can add it to something because you're right, vaping is intimidating for people that have never used cannabis. They're not going to just start vaping, even though a cancer patient really may need that for more immediate relief. They're not going to be comfortable starting there. So mixing it in a half of a milliliter at a time, and then you kind of play with it. We also want to educate people. We are providing a full spectrum CBD now into all the pharmacies this month, because for people who are first time users, if they take too much, they can back out of that high a little bit and get some relief from that high. If they get too stony and they're nervous about that, they can take some of that full spectrum CBD or CBG, and it brings them back down from that. So if you've taken too much THC, it's a little bit of a rescue for you, where you don't get that paranoid that, oh my gosh, I'm going to die, I'm going to have a heart attack. So
take me to the emergency room right away.
Take me to the emergency room now.
That's exactly what it feels like too.
Yeah. So we want to offer
calm yourself down.
Yeah.
Calm yourself down.
And CBN and CBG and some of those minor cannabinoids in a full spectrum CBD is a good rescue for that. If you felt like, okay, I've crossed the line. Okay, I'm gonna back it out a little bit, and that'll give you some relief with that full spectrum CBG with those minor cannabinoids in it. But one thing you said about, you said something that I just forgot. I was going to mention for the new users in the Utah market.
Gosh, I don't know about those your perspective of not being involved in the cannabis space before, and you have these new users who want to try it. What I was going to say is, I think when you get a syringe like that, if you have 300 milligrams of THC in it, then you can measure, okay, if I put 100 milligrams into this recipe and I divide it into 10 servings, each serving would have 10 milligrams of THC. This is something people really have a hard time with, calculating how much THC is going to be in their product.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it really is just, the total that goes into the butter.
Yeah.
You know how much butter you have. Divide the butter up before you eat it, right?
Yeah.
You divide it up into its each individual serving, and you've essentially made yourself some gummies, some edibles, whatever.
That's right. And you can start slow. I mean, if just start slow, because you can always see where your tolerance level is and add to that. You can always add to it. There was something I was going to add to you with the Utah market. I think too, in the state of Utah, we have, and I'm from the South, so I can say this about the South as well, a really highly populated religious culture. And so I think it really helped just recently that the LDS Church came out that they are on board for people using medical cannabis. I just want to shout out to them a big thank you, because I feel like the Utah market now will be a little more open-minded to using medical cannabis as a treatment option for different ailments. And so I'm really happy that happened on the Hill. As it passed with the majority of the vote. People wanted cannabis in Utah, but I feel like there's still, Utah's about half LDS, not LDS. And so to have that you know what, it's okay to try it and to see how it works for you. A lot of people needed that validation and that all right, you know what, my leaders, my
community is okay with it.
Right.
If I do it under, the rules, if I follow those, and I don't need to use it. People don't need to use it forever. If they have something that's bothering them for a while, it's, maybe it's reasonable when you talk to your provider. Maybe that's reasonable to try.
That's right.
Well, and I'm sure you were nervous as a processor. It's like, hey, they can either make or break this program here in Utah. Whether if they endorse it or not, if they talk out against it, it could put this whole thing under.
It's very true, and it just shows you, I think, that the whole world, or at least our nation, is moving. It's not going to go backwards. It's only going to move forward. And so we want to move it forward in a direction that people will use it for medicine. But I will say I come from a family of addicts, and there was just a really great news story. And I want to shout out Wholesome and the people who did the news story in a recovery center just recently, people who are recovering from addiction. Marijuana is not a gateway drug. I hate that connotation of marijuana. Cannabis is, I think marijuana has such a negative connotation, and I think we are trying to change that by using the word cannabis. But I come from a family of addicts that cannabis has literally saved 2 of my brother's lives from alcoholism. So I think it was Channel 2 that just did a really great news story, and Wholesome is working with this facility that's a recovery facility to give them, I'm not sure exactly what they're doing to work with them, but it's not a gateway drug. It is a rescue drug. It's a drug that will help you to find a balance where you can live a nice, calm, anxiety-free, freeing lifestyle without heavier drugs like heroin, cocaine, alcohol. Too much alcohol, in my opinion, leads people down a path that really is, I've seen it over and over again, really destructive. So cannabis is such a great alternative to alcohol. It's such a great alternative to higher, heavier drugs that kill people, and that's opioids included. Opioids, in my opinion, can lead you down a road that leads to death. And so I'm excited about cannabis for saving lives.
What's the best way for listeners to find out more about your products, find out more about what you got going on with Life Elevated and with Heal You and with everything going on?
Go to our Instagram. We are Heal You Premium on our Instagram, and we're Life Elevated on our Instagram. And our website is almost done. I wish I could tell you guys to go right to our website.
Totally fine.
And
Heal
You is spelled Jilu, right?
Jilu.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm sure you'll announce the website on social when you get it all up and running.
We will. Our website's been really slow, and so we're hoping to have all of our on our Life Elevated side. You can go and see our C of A's, but right now our Heal You side isn't totally up and going. So we're working on getting our website up and going. But go to our Instagram, follow us, know that we are, and along with the other processors and growers, we're doing our very best. And I can say this from everyone I've met in the industry that are making products. They're really doing it with a Utah patient in mind. And yes, people are going to always chase high THC. Some people are always going to do that. And some people need that. And that, I don't have any judgment on that either. I think if that is saving you from using a drug that could be potentially deadly, I say bravo.
Go for it. Absolutely.
Go for it. If that's going to be your form of medicine, I say we need to lose that judgment as well. because you are never going to die from cannabis. You're never going to overdose. You might be stoned for 3 days, but, I
might just need to lay down and take a nap.
You might need to lay.
Ferris Bueller or the Back to the Future series.
Yes, yes. I have a really funny story with my nieces and nephews with trying cannabis and brownies, and they had that experience. But that's a whole nother segment.
Lasted for a couple of days, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I've had those too.
Yes.
I've had those too.
But I just think we do need to open our minds and put our judgments aside on, why people are using cannabis and what they're using it for, and think of it in a different way and embrace it, because it's here to stay, and it is a beautiful, beautiful plant that can help a lot of people.
Way cool.
Way cool. Anything else you want to talk about, Tim or Beverly? Anything before we wrap this episode up? Or
do you think we covered everything?
I mean, I know it's hard to cover everything in like an hour, right? We'll just have to talk down the road.
Oh yeah, I mean, down the road we'll bring you back, because you're going to be a brand that people really like.
Yeah.
And all these products, I think we're just going to have to talk about all these products again and again.
More and more products. I mean, I'm sure you got a lot of stuff.
I'm sure.
Out the line and
we're going to do a lot of fun products. We're going to do products that appeal to everyone. And I've talked mostly about our medicine products, but we are going to we just did a higher cartridge. Our Acapulco Gold is our high potency.
That's a classic.
Yeah, so our Acapulco Gold.
Strain doesn't even exist anymore that they know of, right?
Yeah, so our Acapulco Gold is always going to be in conjunction with our higher potency. So our syringes, we just did that won't have that Acapulco Gold in it, but we just started with a little bit of a 1 gram glass bucket on a high potency that has the Acapulco Gold added in. So that's exciting for people who want that higher THC. And we have an Acapulco cart. So that is our highest potency.
Cool.
And then most of our other vape carts are anywhere between, I think about in the 70% range. And so as we get going, we probably will have some higher potency stuff too.
Would you like to eventually get a grow license?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Of course we would.
I guess that's kind of a given.
It would be so fun.
Yeah.
And every time I go into a pharmacy, because I'm such a people lover, that there's my husband's like, oh my gosh, Beverly, we were just on vacation. He's like, do you have to get to know every single person we meet? And the answer is yes, because I love people. I can't count on one hand people that I don't like. So the pharmacy I love being in the pharmacy with all the pharmacy owners and talking to the patients. I like that even better than the processing and making the products, because I'm a people lover. So
you would like to even maybe eventually have a pharmacy?
Or that
I
15th.
Yeah.
I know.
Right?
I know. We're all going to be going for that 15th.
I know, everybody. Start your engines.
We're all going to be trying to go for that one. But it's exciting. And hopefully, as Utah gets really growing, we'll have more than 15. I just feel like there's probably going to be a need for more than 15.
Oh, absolutely.
As we get
I already see a need for more than 15, really,
Yeah, because look how far people have to drive, to...
There's a lot of,
I think there's a lot of places that you could have a smaller retail setting, especially.
Like even Moab. Does Moab have any plans to open?
No, and you would
Not
think that
yet.
the 15th would be they would go to Moab.
Like Moab's needs one. Anyway, all the cities need.
Moab, Vernal.
Yeah.
Just a lot of those.
Yeah, Vernal's really growing. Vernal could
is
use
really
one.
growing.
A few more down south even, because I know like St. George and Cedar
Well,
City.
you would think that, St. George, I would think needs 2.
At least
you
2.
You could there's going to be Justice in the south.
And we want to welcome
Bloom
Justice. I just met with Justice. I'm working with them to help get stuff in their pharmacies, and they're going to be a wonderful addition to the state. They're amazing people. They worked with Randy at the Trike Company.
Yes, they were close with Trike.
They worked closely. I think they've several of their employees that are coming here have worked for Trike. So they're really knowledgeable, great people, really excited to work with them. We love working with all the pharmacies though. And be patient with the pharmacies. they're doing such a good job, and they've been patient with us. We've given them stuff. We've made mistakes. Poor Deseret. They've been so patient with us down in Provo on getting MJ Freeway. We can't ever get our stuff right in MJ Freeway. Everybody's had MJ Freeway problems, and that's the platform that we all have to do business in with the state. And so the pharmacies have been really patient, and we've all just, nothing's been real easy so far. Everything kind of feels like this, like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna do that? And so everybody's had to like make lots of apologies. I've had to like eat crow on so many things. I thought I understood something, and I'm like, I didn't even have a clue what that was talking about. So the pharmacies have been really patient too. They're doing a great job. They really are.
Well, Chris,
should we wrap this episode up?
We should wrap this episode up. You can always find us at utahmarijuana.org/podcast, where all the episodes are.
Subscribe in any podcast player you listen to other podcasts in. Leave us a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and then maybe we'll read it on a future episode.
Oh, absolutely.
And subscribe. Yeah, I think I said that already, but we got a new episode every week. So thanks again, Beverly, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you guys so much for having me, Tim and Chris.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
We'll bring you back on.
Awesome.
All right, everybody, stay safe out there.
Awesome.
Thanks.